My name is Addison Welsh, Internship and Experiential Learning Manager for Career and Professional Development. We are excited to walk you through gaining experience with internships and micro-internships and how to advance your career with Milestone 3. I have been with WGU for coming up on 2.5 years, and I absolutely love all things experiential learning, which given my role, I think that makes sense. Experiential learning has been from internships to volunteering to study abroad, all things in between. It really has helped me a lot in clarifying what I wanted to get out of my career, because there have been many, many times when I've been a little lost. And so I'm hoping that you can find some resources today that will help you along your way as well. And with that, I'll hand it over to Celeste, who I'm so excited is joining us today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Celeste Seymour. I'm an internship and experiential learning manager. I've been in this position for just a few months. However, I've been at WGU for about 13 years. I started here as a professor. My background is actually in rhetoric communication. I have my PhD. And so I've done a little bit of teaching, a little bit of faculty management, a little bit of project management here for WGU. And so I love supporting higher education. I love being in higher education, and I'm really excited to be talking to you today about just how you can translate some of the skills that you're learning here at WGU into career readiness. So thanks for joining, everybody.
Thank you, Celeste. We're so lucky to have her. And so today we are going to chat through lots of different things. We're going to start with the WGU career milestones, which can just help support you through your career journey, if you will. We'll chat through a little bit more about just experiential learning in general, and then we'll move into internships as well as micro-internships. And then towards the end, we'll share some more resources as well as leave some time for questions. And so before we begin, if you could intern at any organization, truly any organization, where would you intern? Pop that into the chat. I would say while people are thinking here, I live in Colorado, and there is a wildlife sanctuary where they actually rescue wild animals. And I do not have any background in animals or anything, but I think that sounds like a lot of fun if I could do an internship there. Celeste, do you have any places where you'd love to intern?
I agree. I think that an animal sanctuary or a zoo would be really great. I also am really, really interested in learning more about how Disney or Pixar works, just because I'm a huge fan. So I don't know what types of skills I could bring to that, but I'd love to see that organizational culture and an internship there.
I love that. Well, I know Disney has a really, really comprehensive internship program, so there's an option there. And they actually come and present to us. That's great. Google or Apple, I love it. We've got Blender Foundation, Blender 3D. Fantastic. Well, keep popping them in the chat as you think through maybe some organizations where you would be interested in interning. And we'll keep moving along here. And so at WGU, we have 7 career milestones that really help you through your career journey. We know that your career journey is really cyclical. What I mean by that is that there might be different times when maybe you aren't really sure what you want to do in your career, or other times when maybe you need to update your resume or your LinkedIn. Or maybe there's times when you just need to assess, is my career going the way that I want it to go? And so the career milestone journey really walks you through all the resources and steps to help you through that journey. And so everything from making sure that you understand what your career goal is, to helping you create a career plan to reach that career goal. And then we have milestone 3, experiential learning completed, which we're going to dive into. And then we also have the learning and professional connections expanded. And so this really goes into, how do you expand your professional network effectively? We often talk about, your network. It's so important, but this actually walks you through all of the things that you need to do to expand that professional network and nurture it as well. And then in milestone, if I can count, 5, professional brand asset and portfolio creation. So that's really looking at your resume, your LinkedIn, your cover letters, and also helping you prepare for interviews. All really, really important things for landing that job. And then hopefully you're able to land that job. And then we have the career wellness assessment, which really helps you overview your career to make sure that it's meeting your professional as well as personal needs. And so it's a really great thing, if you're a student or an alumni at any point, you can come to these resources if you just need a little bit more support. And it's a really great way to keep moving forward in your career, because I know sometimes it's easy to get stuck. All right. And so with that, going into experiential learning, so what is experiential learning? It's really the process of learning by doing. And through that process, you're also gaining experience. You're able to potentially apply some of the knowledge that you've gained from either previous professional opportunities or potentially your coursework into a practical setting. And from this, you're able to gain relative or industry relevant skills, which is so important if you're transitioning or starting your job or your career rather. And then during this experience, you're really reflecting on that experience. You know, what did you learn? What are things that you can do better in the future? What else do you need to learn? And so experiential learning is truly, really, if you want to think about it, it's like hands-on learning. You know, when you think about, I had someone with a great example, I could show you a video of how to learn how to swim, but it's probably going to be easier if you actually learn how to swim alongside me, right, in the pool. And so it's really learning by doing when we think about it that way. And so um, when we think about, you know, what opportunities are available within experiential learning, there's a lot of different options. And so we have simulations, volunteering, apprenticeships, internships, and micro-internships, which we'll chat about today. Job shadow, and then there's others like service learning, fellowships, study abroad, lots of different things. And so if you're curious about learning about the other experiential learning opportunities that we do have a session next Tuesday, I believe it is, when we'll go through all the other experiential learning opportunities that are listed on this slide as well. And so as we think of, as I was, you know, chatting about the career milestone in that journey, we have career milestone 3, which is experiential learning completed. And so within that milestone, really we'll walk you through, you know, what do you do before you start an experiential learning opportunity? How do you make sure that it benefits your career? All the way through making sure that you're really articulating the value from that experience effectively, you know, whether that's on your resume, your LinkedIn, in an interview, whatever it may be. And so Career Milestone 3 really walks you through from the very beginning all the way to the end and everything that you need to do in order to make the most out of that experience. And we'll be walking through the different steps of this milestone throughout today's session together. And so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Celeste, who's going to chat more about internships.
Yeah, so we're going to start with a basic definition of what an internship is. It's a professional learning experience that's typically related to an academic or career interest that you have. It's specifically for you to gain skills and your development through experiences with in a professional setting with an employer. And there are so many benefits to an internship. You get to gain experience and skills and knowledge. During that time, you connect with other people, so you get to network. Internships typically have some sort of mentorship structure within it, so you can actually get mentored. You get to apply the knowledge that you're learning here at WGU. You can solidify your career paths and what you really value within an organization. It's really important to see how an organization works and what it's like to be part of an organizational culture, and you can really reflect on what you value and what you're looking for. And a lot of the times an internship can transition into a full-time role. Because it is recognized as professional experience and helps you gain those skills that you need to apply and be accepted for positions. So there are a lot of benefits for internships. So that's generally speaking, but we want to hear from you since you're all in this room and you're interested in internships. Why do you want to complete an internship? What are some of the things you'd like to gain? Go ahead and put that in the chat. Get first-time experience, great. Yeah, see a lot of experience skills, yep, connections, learning from the companies, learning from the company, yep, foot in the door. That's great. Yep. Yeah, those are all benefits, all things that we're going to be talking about, gain knowledge and experience in field of study, networking, we just mentioned that. Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Excellent. So here are some reasons why you should complete an internship in addition to the benefits. Many students ask whether they should complete an internship, and this data from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, or NACE, indicates that about half or more, 50 to 60% of those who complete an internship actually do transition into a full-time role. There are literally millions of internships available, and more than half of them are paid, 58%. Over the course of the year, we have thousands of them available, those paid internships available through Handshake and our employer partners that we have at WGU. So today we really want to talk to you about how you can get connected with that and take advantage of all the benefits that you have and everything that we've listed here before in terms of gaining experience and networking. But I think it's first we want to reflect on where you are at in your career journey and how you can specifically benefit from completing an internship. So we've bucketed the internship experiences into 3 different careers. So you may be in this call and you may be a career starter. You may be a career changer or a career curious. Now, someone who's a career starter is someone who an internship can provide you an opportunity to gain experience and skills in a chosen industry that maybe you're just beginning. If you're a career changer, internships can help you gain experience and skills in an industry that you're transitioning into. If, for example, you started in finance and all of a sudden you decided that you really want to go into marketing, internships can help you get those applied skills. And for the career curious, maybe you are trying to decide what you want to do with your career, and internships are a great way for you to experience what the work might really look like. So we're going to go through each one of these buckets, and I want you to reflect on where you might be in your own career path and see if any of these benefits stand out to you. So when you should complete an internship, if you're a career starter, if you're just starting off in your career, and some of you in the chat have indicated that you might be there, completing an internship really at any time during your academic program would be beneficial. But for someone who's just getting started in your career, the coursework that you have here at WGU is helping you to gain relevant experience and skills that you can then transition into an internship. So if you're just getting started, maybe at the end of your program might be the best time for you to look for an internship after you've kind of gotten some relevant skills under your belt there. You just want to make sure that you have entry level role requirements and looking at the job description. So that's best for a career starter. If you're a career changer, if you are transitioning into a new career, you complete your internship at any point during your program. If you want to transition into a new role in your field when you're completing your degree, you might want to find a transition or you might want to find an internship earlier in your program. If you want to transition into a new industry after you complete your degree, then you're going to want to go towards your end. It's really up to that, but just definitely something as Addison mentioned with the career milestone, all the resources that we have in milestone 3, you're going to want to reflect on is what makes the most sense for you in terms of your career goals. And then finally, if you're career curious, you're still trying to identify and solidify your career path, maybe an internship toward the beginning or the middle of the program will give you an opportunity to see what it's like to work in a certain industry or within a certain organization, try out a career. And if it's not right for you, which sometimes that's what internships show us, then you do have time before the end of your program to maybe try out another experiential learning opportunity. So those are all of the different kinds of buckets that we talk about in terms of reflecting on your particular path and where you're at in your career development. But we do get a lot of questions from students about whether or not internships are right just in general for non-traditional students, meaning students who are going back to school, working full-time, who are adults and lead busy lives. And our answer to you is absolutely yes. It's important to remember that you bring a wealth of experience with you to an internship opportunity. All of those soft skills development that you have from any prior or current career experiences like problem solving, communication skills, you bring that to an internship that is uniquely yours, right? You might also have professional experience that you're bringing to the table for an internship opportunity. And you might be uniquely positioned to mentor or teach other interns who are either career starters or earlier in their just professional development in general, and really bring value to an internship experience. So if this is something that you ever doubt whether an internship as a non-traditional student can actually work, we're here to tell you that absolutely it can, and you should give it a chance. But there are some things to consider before searching for internships, and these are related to some resources that we have that I'm going to hand back to Addison to walk you through for a few minutes.
Why, thank you, Celeste. Yes, I think one of the incredible things is, I mean, I think at any point, right, we might doubt ourselves, if I could speak. But one of the really great things that I've heard from a lot of our students who have been, adult learners and a little bit further along in their career who have done an internship is just the opportunities they've been able to have to mentor other students and how that's really made them stand out to the employer, which has led them to a full-time offer. And so just remember, wherever you are coming from in that experience, you definitely have value. And so some things to consider before you search for an internship. I remember when I searched for an internship, I was just like, oh, great. This has something to do with what I'm studying. Looks fantastic. And it really wasn't. It just showed me what I didn't want to do, which I guess that there's some relevancy there. But you really, really want to make sure that you're looking at that first step, which is our preferences identifier. And so this resource is really going to help you kind of think through, what is it that you want to get out of your career? Is there a certain, can you look up a job description and you can see actually legitimately what it is that is required for that role? And you can do a gap analysis and understand, what are the skills, the experience, or the knowledge that you're missing that you need to gain from that internship or experiential learning opportunity. That can really give you a lot of clarity instead of just doing an internship and maybe it just builds on skills that you already have. So take the time to think through what is my actual career goal. And we have lots of resources if you're not sure what that is, because it does change. And then really thinking through, where are the areas where I can grow. This tool also is really going to help you think through just some of your preferences as well in terms of compensation. Do you need to be compensated? What does that look like? Are you able to volunteer and not get compensated? And then also thinking about your availability. I would imagine if I asked a lot of you right now, do you have extra 20 hours in your work week or your week in general? You probably say no. But if I ask you, well, in 3 months, do you think you will? And you say, oh, sure, but what are you taking off your plate? And if you say nothing, well, it might make you think, okay, what are the things that I can move around? So maybe I have a little bit more time to be able to commit to this type of opportunity. And so it just kind of helps you think through some of those basic things that are really going to help you get more out of that internship opportunity. And so once you kind of identify some of those preferences, you'll start your search. And so just like with a job, I'm going to be frank, it's not going to be the most exciting time of your life. Internships are just as competitive as jobs. And so it's going to take effort. It's going to take a good resume, good cover letter, all of those pieces. But it's also going to take looking at different opportunities or different platforms that are available. And so we have Handshake, and we'll talk about that here in just a minute. We also have Career Quest, which I chatted about at the beginning of this session. We have our internship and Experiential Learning Expo. Thank you, Ezra, for adding that into the chat. These are really, really great ways. If you see that there's an event going on where you can actually go and meet with a recruiter who's recruiting for that internship position, it's a really great opportunity for you to get your foot in the door. And so check out those Career Quest events. Then LinkedIn and Indeed are also going to be great opportunities as well. I will say that sometimes an employer might post on Handshake, but they may not post on Indeed. Or maybe they post on LinkedIn, but not the other two. And so it's really important that you use a variety of platforms as you begin your search. There is also a website called GoRick, and I will share that how you get to that website. But it's really great because you can actually filter by industries, and so you can filter, for instance, by like marketing and communications, and you can see all these different companies listed that have internship programs. And so you can also target it that way, just by company. And so I'll be sure to share out that resource too. And then also your current employer may actually have some opportunities. And so maybe they have opportunities that are already developed. They already have a full internship program that you can participate in, or maybe there's an opportunity for you to create an internship. As we've talked about, maybe you're moving from HR to finance and you need a little bit more experience. Is there an opportunity for them to create an internship opportunity for you, or just an opportunity for you to partner with them on a project just to help get some more of that experience so you can add it to your resume? And then finally, your network. Your network is so important, especially in today's labor market. I can't emphasize that enough. And I think oftentimes, when we think about our network, we think about our close friends and family, but it's oftentimes colleagues, acquaintances, friends of friends, people that you're actually not very close with that are aware of opportunities that may be a good fit for you. So all that to say, be sure to share out with your network, whether that's just chatting with people or on your LinkedIn, wherever it may be that you're looking for an internship opportunity and what that opportunity is, because you never know who may be aware of an opportunity that will fit well for you. And then on the CPD website, again, we'll be sure to share this resource with the follow-up email. We have the experiences section. And so this is basically like a search engine of search engines where you can go through and actually see different areas where you might be able to find an internship opportunity. Excuse me. Then we also have Handshake. And so be sure to check out Handshake. You can actually sign up for it to send you emails when an opportunity comes available that might be a good fit for you. All right. And so if you want to hop into the chat, what is the biggest challenge you have in applying to internships?
Massive outside competition. Yeah, internships are competitive, that's for sure. Location. Yeah.
Absolutely, especially when you live in a rural area.
Mm-hmm.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Great. And then with that, Celeste, I'll hand it over to you.
Yeah, great. We talked a little bit in terms of where you are with your career path, when you should apply to an internship, but let's just talk generally speaking, if you're anywhere, when you should apply. It really does depend on the company and the industry. For instance, in accounting and technology, it's typical for interns to be hired maybe sometimes almost a year in advance of their internship begins. So it's important for you to begin searching early for internships as soon as you kind of are feeling like, yeah, it's time for me to start looking. So you can kind of get a sense of how far in advance you might have to apply, because they also are typically competitive, especially the paid opportunities. Typically, though, applications open in the fall, but there are opportunities where or places that have applications open year round. So it's definitely worth going back to Handshake and going back to all the resources, Go Rick and those types, going back and checking often, because they might fill up quickly, or the deadline might pass, but employers might post more. So you definitely want to kind of keep the seasonality in mind, but persistence is definitely the key theme here. But we have had students who have applied to hundreds of internships, and we hear that it's competitive. It can be really frustrating, and so we want to help. We have a couple of tips here, and definitely all the resources to help you. The first one is that just to say that there are a lot of really great things about those quick apply buttons that you might see on LinkedIn or on in internship postings or whatever, and it makes things really easy when applying for micro-internships. But we're here to tell you it really is valuable for you to take the time to not only tailor your resume, but your cover letters and maybe even your LinkedIn profile and information when you're looking for specific internship opportunities, so that the recruiter can see how your experience makes you qualified for the open position. And our career and professional development services can definitely help you with any of that. We have resources, and also you can make an appointment with a career advisor to help you with your resume, help you work on your cover letter, help you update your LinkedIn profile, any of those aspects of assets that you have in your professional branding and networking, that sort of thing, we can help you with. So, and you also want to make sure that you have an updated Handshake profile. So anywhere where you can personalize and tailor, that is going to be a good thing for you. Another thing is to really review and look over carefully the job description and the requirements. It seems pretty simple, but you ask yourself, do you have the skills, experience, or knowledge required for the internship? If not, are there ways for you to get that experience through other experiential learning opportunities in order for meet qualifications in the future? And some of those might be doing a simulation through Forage, which is also on our career and professional development websites, volunteering somewhere, or other ways doing projects and getting that experience. And then also, finally, you may not be getting an internship because you have too much experience. And maybe it's time for you not just to look at internships, but instead look at entry-level jobs. It might be in your best interest rather than applying for internships. So those are just a couple of quick tips that we want you to consider if you feel a little overwhelmed with the number of applications that you've had to put in to get an internship. But participating in an internship has so many benefits. We've talked about the skill development and the networking. This is a really important slide for us in terms of expanding access and giving you opportunities to succeed. And so underemployment occurs a lot when a person is working below their full potential, either in terms of their skills, their education, or availability to work. And this can really have a major impact on your overall career success and growth. By participating in an internship, underemployment decreases by about 49% post-graduation, and we see an increase in salary. So it's really important. It's a really important career development opportunity. The rest that you see here on this page here is, again, from the National Association of Colleges and Employers, from their annual report in 2024, actually, that shows what a difference there is between the starting salaries between students who take on paid opportunities for internships and those who either don't intern or are unable to intern, or have unpaid opportunities for internships. So here at WGU, we really want to see you, and we encourage you to participate in paid opportunities in order to eliminate any financial barriers that may impact participation. You can see here that paid interns, for example, their starting salary with their job opportunities are higher by not only from unpaid interns, but also students who don't. And on average, paid students who participate in paid internship opportunities get on average 1.01 job offers in comparison to students who participate in unpaid internship opportunities at 0.66, or those who don't internship at all at 0.74. So actually, it seems counterintuitive, but actually sometimes participating in an unpaid internship can put you at a disadvantage that we don't want you to have in relation to not interning at all. And sometimes, there are better ways to get that experience through virtual means, simulations, volunteering, etc. We really, if it's an internship, we'd like you to go for a paid opportunity so they can really have the full benefits. So that's just some really important and interesting information for you to consider when you're looking through the internships posted. WGU only posts paid opportunities for internships through Handshake. The next thing that we want to talk to you about in terms of, barriers to getting to applying to or feeling like you're ready for internship opportunities is the difference we want to stop and think about the difference between imposter syndrome and being underqualified. So we'll talk about imposter syndrome first. Imposter syndrome is feeling like you're not good enough, despite the evidence of your skills. And at any point in your life, about 70 to 80% of us feel imposter syndrome about something at some point. And when it comes to internships, you might be thinking like, well, if I get an internship, they realize that I'm not good enough, or everyone else is probably a whole lot more advanced from me. And those are thinking traps that we find ourselves in that might hold us back to reaching our full potential. And we might be downplay some of our past experiences, saying like, well, I did have, I have been kind of working on this skill, or I do kind of have this background, but I don't know if that's really going to matter for an internship. And we're here to tell you that it absolutely does matter. So it's definitely something that we all experience, feeling that we're not up to snuff for a certain experience. So it's important to acknowledge and share your feelings, because it's probably pretty common. And if you talk about it with someone else, they may share feelings and say like, oh yeah, I've been in that position before. And they might be able to help you identify some of the skills that you do bring to the table. On a practical level, I think it's also important when you're thinking about whether you're ready for an internship is to track your wins. Any type of win you have in terms of your course completion or certification preparation or anything like that, track it, write that down, check it off, and keep a running tally of things that you bring to the table, and then update your resume accordingly. We want to reframe negative self-talk, and definitely think about and practice self-compassion. Think about negative self-talk in a way of would you talk the same way if you were in the room with a friend? So if would you tell your friend that you're not good enough, or any other type of thought that you might have. So we want to be gracious with ourselves, and we want to be accepting of ourselves, and try and sidestep that tendency we all have for imposter syndrome. So there is that barrier that a lot of us share, but there's also on the other end of it, there is a very real chance that some might be underqualified or missing key skills. And that's why it's so important for you, prior to taking any type of internship opportunity, to sit down and identify your gaps, your skills gaps. Take up the job description and the internship project description, and side by side compare it to some of the skills that you've gained. And there might be some skills that you have in either that you need some more growth in, either in a particular tool or software, or just in a business product or something like that. Like, oh, I've never really done a business case before. Identify those things that you specifically need to grow on and with, and upskill through online courses. Examples might be LinkedIn courses, Coursera, Udemy. There's a lot of options out there. Or you can pursue other experiential learning opportunities first. We've mentioned simulations, volunteering, freelancing, etc. So now I'll turn it back to Addison to talk about, if you're ready for an internship, you've decided, what's next?
Thank you, Celeste. All right. So if you are ready for an internship, we've gone through this discussion and you think, you know what, I think this is actually really helped me in my career here. Let me get back to the right slide. So first, again, really want to make sure you identify your goals. I will also say, with that, once you identify, okay, I want to go for a social media manager position, and I know that I need to improve my ability to use SEO, for instance. So I'm going to find an internship that specifically allows me the opportunity to really grow in that area. Great, I've identified my goals. Next, I need to update my resume, my LinkedIn. I might need to have a cover letter template ready, just in case some of the applications do require a cover letter. I will say, even if it's not required, it can help you stand out. And I will also say, I'm going to put this in the chat. If you have not used JobScan yet, it is a wonderful resource. I know that there's some folks that have mentioned in the chat that they've had it's been hard to find an internship and actually get accepted into it and have your resume picked up by a recruiter. And so this can really help you. So JobScan actually scans your resume and compares your resume with the actual job description or internship job description and can help you identify areas where you need to improve. Maybe you're not listing the right skills. Maybe your formatting is off. All the things that are really going to impact your ability to move forward in the process. And so this is free for you. We have the premium version. And so as a student or as an alumni, you can come in and use this resource as many times as you need. It is truly wonderful. We do a lot of sessions as well on JobScan. And so if you're interested in learning more about that, be sure to check out our event section or our YouTube channel. Okay, so now you've got the resume. It's looking beautiful, as well as your LinkedIn. You want to start that search. Then we've talked about using multiple platforms, whether that's Handshake, LinkedIn, the experiences section on the CPD website, Indeed, your network, all of those things. And then you're going to move into the application phase. And then hopefully within no time, you're going to be able to accept that internship opportunity. And of course, at the end, make sure that you add that to your LinkedIn profile as well as your resume. And so next, maybe you're sitting here thinking, well, I would like an internship, but it's just not really feasible for me. Are there other opportunities available? And there are. So one is a micro-internship. And so there's an organization called Parker Dewey. And I can actually pull up their website here as we're going along. And they offer short-term projects. Typically, these are going to be anywhere between 10 to 40 hours. They're all paid. And most of them, I would say like 98% of them are virtual. They cover a ton of different industries, everything from healthcare to marketing to finance, everything in between. And usually the intent behind this is really just to gain skills as well as experience. And I just put their website into the chat because I know we get a lot of students that are interested in this opportunity. And so really, short term, which is really great for a student who might be really busy and not able to commit to that full-time internship. So yes, it's great for getting that short-term experience. One of the things, and we're going to chat through, is really how to make sure that your application stands out because these are very, very competitive. They also, usually the average pay is about $20 to $25 an hour. And so this is not going to be like a full-time job. Obviously, it's short-term. So you're probably going to want to be able to have the financial ability or flexibility to be able to participate in these types of opportunities. You'll also have to make sure that you apply consistently. Their website, if you pop on there, you'll see usually that at any given time, usually they have anywhere between like 8 to 10 opportunities. But the thing is that they're constantly getting updated. And sometimes, for instance, maybe Apple will post a micro internship and it might only be on the site for literally 2 hours. And so if you see something that you are interested in, go ahead and apply because they can fill up really, really quickly. And then just another thing to consider with these types of opportunities is that they are limited in terms of networking. Usually, it's going to be more like a project. And so maybe you only have contact with maybe a few people at the organization. So you're not going to have as many networking opportunities as you might with a full-time internship. With this, though, we have actually had Jamie is a student here actually at WGU. And she completed 2 micro-internships, which is pretty incredible that she was selected for 2 because, as I've said, they're very, very competitive. But they've helped her build connections while she's juggling a full-time job and full-time studies, as well as being a parent of 2 young children, which I'm sure many of you know that's quite the demand within itself. But even despite her busy schedule, she's been able to get that extra income as well as valuable experience, which has helped her strengthen her resume as she continues in her job search. And so that's incredible. So how do you become like Jamie and get selected for 2 different projects? So according to Parker Dewey, typically you want to apply anywhere between 5 to 10 different projects. And you want to make sure that you have a complete profile. So just like Handshake, just like LinkedIn, you have a profile where you're able to put your education and your experience section. You want to do the same thing here because that's what employers are seeing. You also want to make sure that you have an updated resume there. Use JobScan, get it up to date. Usually with each application, you're going to have 3 questions. Usually it's like, why are you interested in this position? And during those questions, you can really highlight how does your experience or skills or knowledge really help you within this micro internship? Why should they pick you? One of the great things that Parker Dewey offers is they actually do drop-in review sessions. And so if you find I've applied to 10 of these and I'm not getting anywhere, they'll actually go through and they'll review your profile for you as well as some of your application responses and give you feedback on those opportunities. And so I will, when we send the resource or the email with all the resources, we'll include that information as well. But above all, I will say that if you are interested, if you're listening and you're like, this is something I'm actually really interested in, please, I will send the Career Quest recording where we had Parker Dewey actually come and chat through the micro-internships. And during this recording, she actually walks through different ways that you can set yourself apart in these opportunities and actually get selected. We have seen after students have viewed that session or been a part of it, huge numbers of actual students getting selected for their micro-internship. And so again, if this is something you're interested in, I would commit the hour to watching that recording, because I think it's really going to pay off and help you get picked sooner so that you're not applying to loads and loads of different opportunities, because I know that can be a little rough. So with that, I'm going to hand it back to Celeste to chat through a little bit more about our career growth toolkit. Celeste, you're still muted.
Thank you.
When that happens.
So we're going to wrap it up with a couple of additional resources for you, and then some takeaways before we take some questions. So you get an internship or a micro-internship, and that's fantastic. Congratulations. And so we want to provide you with some ways that you can actually use that experience and what you should do after you have that. So we have in Milestone 3 what's called the Career Growth Toolkit, and it helps you to take experiences that you have, experiential learning, including internships, and communicate those in a way that employers are going to take notice. So you can see in the screenshot here, but you can also access it on our website. There are ways for you to take actionable items to articulate your accomplishments, the skills that you've developed during an internship. It gives you some tips on how to update your resume and prompts for you to update not only your resume, but your LinkedIn profile. That's really important. And some resources for you to be able to do that so that you can actually grow from this opportunity. That's hence the Career Growth Toolkit for the experiential learning. So that is a milestone resource for you that's available that we'll be sending out, but also on our website right now under Milestone 3. And the other resource that we have for you that we want to point you to is just if you're like, oh, the internships and micro-internships, I don't know if they're right for me. I want to see some alternatives. And so we have what's on Milestone 3 called Experiential Learning Comparison Tool. And so this shows you that there are so many ways for you to gain experience. Everyone's situation is unique, and what might be an option for one person might not be an option for you. And so this is a reflective tool for you to download and go through and check what you value, what's currently available to you, and what you're seeking. And so you'll go through and think about current work opportunities that you have, internships, what kind of time commitment you want to make. Do you want virtual? Do you want in person? Do you want to do things on your own time? Do you want deadlines? And just ways for you to compare the different experiential learning opportunities there are and really reflect on what's the best fit for you. So that is the comparison tool on Milestone 3. And then really, if you want our comprehensive experiential learning guide, that's available as well, which gives more details about each one of these experiential learning types: internships, micro-internships, simulation, volunteer opportunities, fellowships, study abroad, and more, where to find them. Tons of links and data in this, and you can download it as a PDF. That's all in our Milestone 3 on our CPD website. So yeah, so that is our final resources that we have available. We gave you a lot of information, so we would love to hear from you what's the biggest takeaway and what types of takeaways you have from this particular session. Does anyone have any action steps or next steps for themselves that they'd like to share?
I was recently in the session and asked this question, and someone said, take a nap. And I thought, well, that's not quite what I was looking for, that I've put you to sleep, but
valid, but
yeah. Maybe you want to explore the micro-internships website. Maybe you want to check out Handshake or JobScan.
Seek out simulations. Utilize JobScan to improve my resume. Yep. Explore micro-internships. Great. Ton of resources. Yeah, JobScan is fun. when I first went in there and just started playing around with it. It's a really, it's very intuitive to use, easy to use, and it's just as simple as like uploading a document and then looking at a match score and improving it. It's a really great tool to use. So definitely encourage you to go around and play in all these resources.
I actually was just chatting with a excuse me, a program mentor the other day, and she said she had shared JobScan with one of her students, and he said that when he went in, he had you have a job match score, basically like what is your resume match to the job scan or to the job description, and typically you want anything above, I think it's 80%. And he had I think it was like at 30%. So he made the changes, got it above 80%, and submitted it, and he actually ended up getting an interview. And so it's definitely a tool that can help. Love that. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for posting that into the chat. With that, so as I've mentioned, we will share the recording of this workshop, and then we'll also be sharing all of the resources that we discussed. But in the meantime, would love to hear your feedback. And so if you have a moment and can pop in that QR code on your phone, just a quick survey, we would love to hear from you, just so we can kind of continue to improve this and make sure that we're meeting you where you're at. And if there's any questions that you feel weren't addressed, we can make sure to address those in future sessions. And I'm going to leave that up. I'm also going to just say, if you have any questions, it's actually been pretty quiet in the chat, which is unusual, but feel free, pop them in the chat. You're also welcome to come off of mute if you like. Any questions that you have, this is your time. And we also do have every Friday afternoon, we have drop-in sessions around internships and micro-internships. And so, and really all things experiential learning. And so if, let's say 2 weeks from now, you've come up with a burning question and you're not really sure where to go, well, you can always reach out to a career advisor, or you can pop into one of those drop-in sessions, and you can register for those on our events page, which I'll put into the chat here. All right, we got a question. How, apart from Handshake, what other platforms do you offer? And so WGU doesn't necessarily offer any platforms. There's the events page there into the chat. But let me actually share my screen here, and we can actually go through the experiences section real quick. Let's share this. Or do you see that there?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you. So if you go to the Jobs and Internships tab and then go to Internships and Experiential Learning, you will come to the page that has all things internships and experiential learning. Just about a quarter of the page of the way down the page, you'll find the Find Experiences section. And I will put this into the chat as well, and I'll be sure to share this via email. But this is, as I've mentioned before, kind of a search engine of search engines. And so you can go through and you can filter by the opportunity that you want to search for. So for instance, if we want to filter by, let's do just internships, apply filters and reload, I can see all the different types of ways where, or different places where I can go to find an internship. There are a lot of websites out there. There are a lot of websites that have some very interesting opportunities that are dicey that you should not apply for. And so these have been vetted, they are legitimate. And so that's why we have them. And so Handshake, as we've talked about, it's a really great one. It's a free platform for you, both as a student, as an alumni. You can find jobs, internships, and it can also send you updates on opportunities that might fit your particular profile. This is a GoRick website that I mentioned before. I'll just do this real quick. And so, like I said, it's really neat because you can actually filter by the industry that you might be interested in working in. So let's say I want to go into accounting. It's going to pull up a whole list of all these different organizations that have internship programs, and will take you to that internship page. So that's really good if you want to look by industry as well as by a specific company. Oh, let me go back here. So that's GoRick. There's also, if you're interested in potentially interning for the federal government, they have a lot of internships available for the Virtual Student Federal Service Internships Program. There's also on-site internships if you want to actually go to DC or other areas within the US. LinkedIn, as we mentioned. Way Up is another option for you. This is a really comprehensive internship website as well that you can check out. And then there's also we've got Capital Placement Global Internships and goabroad.com. These are going to be two for students that are interested in potentially looking at opportunities in different countries. And so that kind of gets you a good start. And also, like I said, Indeed is another good spot to check, but just be sure that you're looking at a variety of options there. All right, I think we've got a couple other questions. How important is a portfolio? Can it help get noticed? I do think that a portfolio can definitely help you get noticed because employers are really looking for, they want to be able to know that you can actually do the work, right? And that's what a portfolio does. I will say that a portfolio is probably more relevant in some areas more than others. Usually we see them more in like the marketing and creative arts, if you will, like marketing, communication, user experience design, that type of thing. But we're starting to see more and more of them in tech. And that can even be something as simple as like you having a blog, or a website or something that just shows the work that you've done and how you did it, which can help demonstrate the skills or how you maybe approached a problem. I hope that helps. We also have I think we've got some sessions also on building out your portfolio as well. Um, can I have a full-time job and an internship at the same time? I think that's up to you. There are students that work full-time and do a full-time internship. However, that is a lot. And I think this is kind of where it gets tricky for students is because let's say, for instance, I'm working full-time and I get the internship opportunity of a lifetime. And it's 40 hours a week, and there's no possible way for me to be able to do both. And so it's a hard decision. Do I give up my current job and take an internship with hopes that it comes into a full-time job because it's a risk. You don't know. You may not get that job, but it could also be the thing that helps break you into that industry, if you will. And so I think it depends. I think you can also find internships that aren't full-time. Some of them can be just 20 hours, 30 hours. I'd also say, too, I think it depends on the flexibility of your current job. Is there some flexibility from you to work from home so that you don't have that time commuting, so you can actually spend that time working on your internship? I really think that that's up to each person as to what other things you have on your plate and whether you're willing to. That's a lot of work, but it could really be worth it too. Might help you get to that career goal. I hope that helps. It's a lot, but every person's situation is a little different. All right, I think we got. So every similar job or internship I seek lists different requirements and skills in their qualifications. That sounds about right. Given this, how rigorously should I cater my LinkedIn, resume, and other professional profiles? Great question. Um, so when it comes to your LinkedIn, usually it would be almost impossible for you to update your LinkedIn every time you apply to a new job. And that would be an unbelievable amount of work. And so usually with your LinkedIn, you keep it kind of general, but maybe a little bit more geared to a certain industry or two. For instance, if I want to move into tech and I've been in marketing, I'm going to want to highlight the transferable skills that I have in tech as opposed to all my experience in marketing, right? Um, but I will say that for your resume, you want to make sure that you tailor it every single time. And I know that this is not fun. I know that it is a lot of work. But in today's world of I know that there are so many people that just pop into ChatGPT. And let's say, for instance, there's a qualification that asks you to have experience working with teams. That's a pretty common qualification within a job, right? So someone types into ChatGPT or whatever AI platform, write a resume or a bullet point that says that I have worked with teams. The thing is that ChatGPT or whatever platform it is going to write the same thing for every single person that puts that into the platform. And so recruiters start to see they can really, really tell when someone has used AI. And the thing is, too, is that sometimes AI will, if you just put a job description in the resume and say, create a resume for this, it will create a resume that maybe you actually don't have that experience. And then you go into the interview and they're asking you about things on your resume that you actually didn't do. And that's not quite the good look. So all that to say is that, yes, you do need to tailor your resume. And yes, there are a lot of tools out there that can help make it easier more than ever before. However, you really need to make sure that you make it your own as well. Using your own language, making sure that it is actually something that you did, using data to make sure that you demonstrate your impact, and just tailoring it to those qualifications. And so in this way, sometimes quality can be better than quantity. Yes, because the more quality and tailoring that you put forward, you may not get as many applications, but you're probably going to be a bit more successful. That was a long-winded answer. This is also too why that networking piece is so important. When you have a referral, and let's say that Bobby, I know Bobby's a really good project manager and I can vouch for him. That makes it a lot easier for the recruiter to know, okay, well, she says that, he's pretty good at what he does. She has experience working with him. That helps a lot. And so the more and more people that you're able to know and to connect with on LinkedIn, even, people from your classes and things like that can vouch for your skill set. great way to expand your network and get your foot in the door at different organizations. Great question. And we have lots of sessions too. Check out our events page. I know I keep saying that, but a lot of sessions about resume, writing your resume, using AI, all of those things. And we have some great career advisors that can help you also in updating your resume as well, because I know it's an art, and a science as well. I know we're almost at time. Any other questions? How closely should I tailor my resume to get through applicant tracking systems? Good question. Love that you know what an applicant tracking system is. So applicant tracking systems, for those of you that may not know, typically when you submit a resume, it doesn't just first go to a person. It actually goes through basically a software, and it determines whether or not you have the qualifications in order to perform the job. The thing is about applicant tracking systems is that sometimes the formatting can actually impact how that's read. And so you may have the experience, but maybe you have that experience within a text box that's not read by the software, so you don't get to move forward within that interview process. One of the cool things about JobScan is that it will actually give you, like I said, that number, that score that shows you like how closely you are, because you don't want it to be verbatim. You don't want to use every single word that's in the job description and put it exactly on your resume. For a recruiter, it's kind of a red flag. But for instance, if you have, let's say you're moving into a leadership role, sometimes they call them people leaders, sometimes they call them managers. And so let's say if it's people leader, you want to make sure you're using that language, because sometimes there's a certain threshold of words that you have to have that are similar in order for it to get to through the application or the ATS system. And so I don't know if there's a perfect balance, but I think that JobScan is a really, really good resource for you to get a sense of where kind of how much more you need to tailor. That 80% mark is really kind of where you're aiming for. All right, last question here. I hope that helped. How should one tailor a cover letter to a job? Aside from the meeting requirements, is it important to showcase you know something about the company organization? Great question. This would be a really good session or question too, if you attend any of those resume drop-in sessions. And we also have, I think we've got some sessions on cover letters as well. But typically in a cover letter, really what you're speaking to is there's that section that is the qualifications on each job description. And so your cover letter is really speaking to how do you meet the qualifications within that cover letter? Do you have experience leading people? Do you have experience working on teams? And trying to provide examples of, in X role, I was able to work with a team effectively by doing X, Y, and Z. You want to be able to provide examples where you can. And yes, it is important to showcase that you know something about the company. And I think that's really important when it comes to the interview, because oftentimes what is the first question they ask you? Why are you interested in this position? Understanding that you know more about the company, the mission, the vision, the values, and that you've done your research really makes you stand out. And so, and you can even put that in your cover letter. This organization really resonates with me because it aligns with my values of whatever it may be. So that was a very quick answer, but truly check out, and I'll be sure to add the careers. I know I put it in the chat as well, but we'll make sure to add that as well to our email, so you can check out the events because we have lots and lots of sessions about those things. So. Well, wonderful. Well, thank you all so much for your engagement, for your questions and participation. We love having you. If you have any questions, feedback, please let us know. Otherwise, we hope to see you next week in some of our other sessions. Take care.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great week.